Hi, Year 10. So the last question for language paper 2 is a writing one. This is where you need to produce a piece of writing which is going to be persuasive. Okay, so we'll look into that a little bit later. But so the focus of this question is there's a statement. So floods, earthquakes, hurricanes, and landslides. We see more and more reports of environmental disasters affecting the world and its people every day. Okay, so the focus of the question is natural disasters. The task is write the text of a speech for a debate at your school or college in which you persuade young people to take more responsibility for protecting the environment. Okay, so there's a number of things that are quite important in that part of the instructions. Okay, so write the text of a speech. Okay, so you are going to be writing a speech, and secondly, you need to be if it's for a debate, obviously you need to take a side. Okay, you can't. One of the things about this question is never to sit on the fence with this. Okay, you need to choose a position. Do you think young people should take more responsibility for protecting the environment or not? Okay, so you need to pick one and then really go for arguing for that point of view. So once you've decided what you need to do, you need to also think about what this question or what this task is asking for you to do as well. So it's again similar to language paper 1, question 5. You get 24 marks for content and organization, which means your ideas, your how you structure that, and 16 marks for technical accuracy, which is your spelling, punctuation, and grammar. So you need to be very careful about your grammar, your spelling, your vocabulary, your use of punctuation, types of sentences, and it's worth 40 marks. So again, it's worth spending 40 to 45 minutes doing this, and it's really important to plan your ideas. So on the revision booklet, you have a planning kind of format or prompts to plan. So always open your argument with a made up personal story or anecdote, example or experience. So make sure your opening is interesting. Engage the reader with a descriptive scenario. So remember, you need it to be something that's quite snappy. It needs to be interesting. It could be supporting your viewpoint or a counter argument. Make sure you clarify your position strongly in the next paragraph. Then you should have point 1 and then point 2. So in each paragraph, you should have one idea that you develop. Now, what a lot of students do is that they write about 4 or 5 ideas that they have in one paragraph, and they run out of ideas because you've said every single thing that you want to say in one paragraph. Now choose something. So for example, if we're talking about students taking more responsibility, why that might be a really good idea, we could say that young people need to look after their futures, and taking responsibility is an important thing that will secure their future. Okay, so I might have one paragraph just on that. So again, you need to be using persuasive techniques. Okay, you need to give examples, develop your ideas, but use persuasive techniques. And you can use the ideas from the A-Forest techniques. So things like you can use alliteration, facts, repetition, triplets, and so forth, exaggeration. So it's important to use a wide variety of them. Don't just shoehorn them in just for the sake of it, but use them effectively. We'll have a look at an example later on. So in both examples, use persuasive techniques, develop your ideas. Some of the easier ones are things like rhetorical questions or exaggeration or using facts, repetition as well, and then close your argument with a powerful final message. So it's almost like a summary, but it's something that is different. It's not an essay, remember. This is a speech. It needs to be interesting. It needs to be persuasive. One of the ways that you can almost look at persuasion is you need to try and get your audience, okay, round to your point of view, and without them kind of realizing it. So it's not an essay where you're writing in this speech, I want you to understand that responsibility for the environment is really important. No, don't come at it directly. Try and be indirect, okay? Try and be persuasive and intelligent with that. Another thing that comes to mind, always identify who your target audience is. So who is the target? Is it young people? Is it older people? Is it, adults? Whoever it is, try and identify that, because then you can kind of mold your kind of register towards your audience, adapt that towards your audience. So if it's for younger people, you could use more informal language. If it's for older, you'll use more formal, more kind of formal language there, or formal address. And yes, so that's quite important. Identify your target audience and what form is it. If it's a speech, okay, if it's a speech, then you can, it's quite free form almost, isn't it? But if it's a letter, remember the conventions of a letter and so on. And obviously close with a powerful message, as I was saying. Now let's look at an example which you all have seen, which I'm just going to show you again. But this is for a different subject, okay, different topic, but we can definitely learn from this still, because you can see the amount of techniques, the vocabulary, the fact that this person has chosen a clear side. Okay, so collectively as a nation, Britain is getting fat, and unfortunately the majority of those becoming precariously chubby are us young people. Every year the total increases, more of us are becoming overweight, overfat, and worst of all, obese. But it's not just a case of people carelessly shoveling in snack after snack, dessert after dessert. That's causing this worrying incline in national fatness. It's also a combination of a severe lack of exercise and insufficient physical activity, because let's face it, the youth of today spend far less time playing out than the youth of yesterday. Just ask your grandparents, and I ask you now, do you want to become a couch potato? Right, so this is just one paragraph, okay? So if we think about our plan, this would be either point 1 or point 2. But here you can see that this example has many, or a wide variety of techniques, persuasive techniques, but also really good vocabulary. They've chosen a clear side, they've used an appropriate register. Okay, so that should serve as a good example, good reminder of what you kind of need to do in this question.